Well, hello, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome our second guest to our PD in Your Pocket webinar, focusing on embedding Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives, Tracey Taylor from Collective Family Daycare. Hello, Tracey.
Hello, Catherine. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, and all the better for seeing you and having you part of our conversation. So maybe I can get you to start, Tracey, by just introducing yourself and your family daycare work.
Okay, so I'm actually situated on the central coast of New South Wales in the Darkinjung area. I first started family daycare around 15 years ago, and back then it was very, very different. It was mostly Anglo-Saxon. I had no Aboriginal children. I don't even think I had any child from any other country. It wasn't until probably I did my diploma, I think it was about 10 or 11 years ago, where when we started the EYLF and NQS had just come in, and they just brought in Aboriginal studies in with that. So when we had to do it in the diploma, we had to think about, our own, ideas that we had. And I really had no ideas, because even when I went to school when I was younger, I had Aboriginal kids at my school and that, but when you're a kid, everyone's just friends and no one knows anything about anyone. We're just all playing. So it was very, very interesting doing Aboriginal studies. And then we had to make resources, and I was determined that I was going to make something that was actually authentic, not tokenistic, and to look at how we are today, Aboriginal people are today. They're not all painted. Some have blonde hair, some have white skin, some have red hair. And so what I did, I actually made some Russian dolls, the little ones that you put together. And I painted them. So one was in what you would think, the ceremonial painting, and then we had a white mum with blonde hair and a darker child, and then a middle child with red hair. And it was just so that the children could understand that it's not about how you look, it's about what's inside. So that was a big thing, and it was just such a big learning curve.
Yeah,
and
sounds
very,
like
very interesting. Yeah.
And Tracey, you've got how many children in your family daycare service?
So I have 4 at the moment. And as I said, I didn't have any Aboriginal children back then, but I'm lucky enough to have one right now.
Wow. And
I'm so lucky because his mum is fantastic. I can ask her for anything. And I asked her for when we did reconciliation this year so I could make it more inclusive for him. And she actually made me a sheet. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's up here.
Oh, yeah.
About his country and his totem. And she was lovely enough to bring in a didgeridoo and a boomerang that belongs to the grandfather in the family.
Fantastic.
And he'd learnt to play it. So he sat down, and because I've got 3 other girls on that day, and they all sat down and watched him, and he played the didgeridoo, and just a look of pride on his face. It was just so unreal and so beautiful. And he, you could see the sense of belonging that he had. Yeah. And it was also learning for the girls as well, and they could see that their friend had a new skill. Yeah. And then he talked about the didgeridoo, and he talked about his totem and his boomerang. So obviously in his family, it's a part of their culture, and it's a part that they celebrate. And I was very lucky and very happy to do that here as well.
Yeah. And it sounds like that relationship with the families, and for family daycare educators out there, if they do have relationships with families who can share their cultural identity with them, that's an incredibly fortunate relationship to have. It sounds like they've been really open and sharing with you about that. But do you think it's because you're welcoming that family is sharing that information with you?
I think it's because I'm willing to have a go and just try. And I think that parents appreciate that, and they appreciate that and because there's only a small number in family daycare, which is what I actually love about family daycare, you can celebrate probably more so those things, because it's not that it's more special than in a bigger group, because I suppose in a bigger group it's just different. Yeah. And there's there's more of a relationship because there's less children, and the parents all get on. They come in and they say hello in the morning, and you know, and we'll have birthday parties or celebrations here, and the parents will know about it because kids talk about it, because we talk about it beforehand and it's in our program. And you know, and one thing I was going to say too is that when I first did the training, I took the children to Walkabout Wildlife Park, which is probably about 40 minutes from me here, and it's owned by the Darkinjung people.
Yep.
And the actual the ranger there has a degree in teaching, but he's also an Aboriginal man. And so he went through ochre painting with children, and he went through bush tucker and bush medicine and taught them all about how to throw a boomerang, and you know, and even right down to things like dangers in, you know, how to look out for snakes and all different things, and it was so valuable for the children, such a educational thing. And so every year we've gone there and I've taken the children, and we've had that, and they're always so happy to engage with the children and to help the children learn more about Aboriginals and about different tools that they used. So, it's really interesting.
It's really interesting too, isn't it, that there are so many opportunities now in our local communities to work with and learn about country. And it sounds like you're someone who looks out for opportunities too, Tracey. You're a bit of a learner. Would that be right?
I found Aboriginal learnings to do with the environment because they're so very close to the environment.
So connection to country. Connection to country.
And so you've got all the plants and everything, but you've also we've been learning about Aboriginal sustainability, which has been great for the children because, you know, and I know that we do sustainability anyway as part of the practice in the EYLF. So things like, you know, you leave some of the plant behind, so you've got regrowth. You only take what you need. You know, you respect your environment. They respect the animal that's their totem because they believe that it might be a reincarnation of one of their elders. So there's all these beliefs and this knowledge of plants, and it's so amazing. It is really good. And there's so many people out there. And then there's Yama to you. He's an Aboriginal man who sells Indigenous plants, Australian plants. And
I understand you have actually established a bush tucker garden. Is that right?
Yeah, I have got a bush tucker garden. It's great. We've got some salt ash and some redback ginger, some lily pilly, some mint, some wild basil, so many things. And we cook with it and we use it. The kids smell it. Everything in our garden they can eat. So there's nothing dangerous, and they can just walk up and they smell it, and it just smells beautiful anyway in the yard.
And I think you're reminding us there that it doesn't have to be something that happens just one day or 1 week. You know, we've got opportunities to celebrate in, say, NAIDOC week, but something like a bush tucker garden or regular visits out into the community, engaging with community events, things like that can happen throughout the program, and using resources and continuing to learn means it's sort of throughout the program, not just a one-off. And I can see that behind you, you've got some really good resources. Are you also on the lookout for books and stories and resources that you think are,
Always. And there's actually one in particular that I think is really good, and I don't know if anyone in family daycare would like to get it, but it's this one called How to Indigenise Your Early Childhood Setting. It's actually got checklists in there of things that you can do, and it's written by Aboriginal people. It's produced by the first Aboriginal book company. So the money goes back to the community, to the people, to the people of the community, and it talks about respect and how you know, you greet Aboriginal people when they come into your service like you would anyone else, but you know, there might be certain things that you mightn't be aware of that actually makes it so much easier when you're greeting them, because you don't know everything, and as you say, you're constantly learning, and it's such an amazing thing to learn about, and they do things so many different ways.
Mm. And it sounds like you're also getting to know your local community too, and making sure that there's lots of opportunities. But if you are building those relationships with families, like you say, and children are coming to share some of those stories themselves, that's just such a powerful opportunity. Not everyone, of course, will be in a situation where they are working directly with an Aboriginal family, but it's about reaching out and seeing what's going on in your local community. One other thing that I think, Tracey, you might be able to help us with is that sometimes family daycare educators might be a little bit worried about maybe making a mistake or doing something that they shouldn't do. Have you got a sense of how you sort of navigated that? You know, have you been in a situation where you feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done it like that?
Oh, every day. It's a constant learning. You know, we're on this journey, as they say, towards cultural competence. Like, we're trying, and I think as long as you try, there's that sense that that Aboriginal people appreciate it, that you're actually having a go, you're trying to learn more about them, you're showing respect, but you're also there's a knowledge that you don't want to be lost. That's you know, thousands of years old, that, you know, that sometimes is being lost because a lot of it is because for a time there you had you know, the lost generation and the stolen generation, and you know, at a course that we did, and this is another thing, your service, your coordination unit,
Yes,
can be so helpful. Like, mine collective is fantastic. All of our educators actually made a panel for a quilt.
Yeah.
And then Dale, our leader, as I call her, she sewed it together. So we've actually got a massive big quilt that's made of all the different areas that all our family daycare educators are in. And it goes around from educator to educator, so the children get to actually see that. We actually had a lady, I wrote her name down, I'll just, sorry, Elsie Randall, and she talked about the impact of colonisation on Aboriginal people. And it's amazing to see just what a change it's made to them, and how it's so important for us now, I think, to bring that all back, because we learn about different cultures throughout the world. So why shouldn't we learn about our own? You know, we might have any Aboriginal ancestors, but we certainly live on the land, and it's their country, it's our country. So, you know, we should appreciate that and learn more about it.
Well, and it sounds like engagement with elders as a collective too, you know, as a group of educators coming together with your family daycare colleagues in your service more broadly, is a really, really good strategy to do. And it's great to take action too, Tracey, if that sort of action of coming together and doing something really productive and purposeful and positive that builds those relationships in a respectful way. Tracey, we're coming to the end of our conversation. We could probably talk all day, but it's fantastic to hear such practical ideas too, and building resources, learning, and you've clearly been doing this for a little while, learning over a period of time. Great to see that it started when you started your qualifications too. So that's a really good news for people who are thinking of upgrading their qualifications. That can be a place of place of inspiration, can't it? So I wonder whether you can finish us off by just giving one piece of advice. So if you were working with or talking to a family daycare educator who wanted to know, like, where should I start, Tracey? What should I do? What do you think? What's one piece of advice?
I think Google. Google is your friend.
Yeah.
You know, investigate the local area you're from. Look up, there's programs from your local area. You can find community groups in your local area. There's men's sheds, there's women's groups, there's so many different things. There's youth groups. But use your best resource, which is your children and your families as well. Yeah. And just have a go. Like, you will make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Like, you don't know everything. But how can you positively teach children if you don't learn it yourself first? And do you want to really, like, I'm interested in the learning. So do you really want to teach children about something you're not interested in? Like, learn it yourself and then pass that knowledge on. And children are so happy. They're like little sponges. They're so happy to be engaged in anything that you do. and they take everything in. And I know they go back and talk to their parents about it because their parents come back and say stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing, I think. Just have a go.
Yeah, fantastic messages here, Tracey, about learning and becoming a curious educator so that we can really generate curious children who ask big questions and they engage with all of the opportunities that engaging with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives brings us in family daycare. Thank you so much for sharing all of your story. I know that all of our participants who are joining us for PD in their pocket will absolutely appreciate hearing from a practitioner, from someone who does this on a daily basis. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. And just remember, I'm a novice too. I'm just learning every day. So just have a go. That's all you can do.
I'm sure people are going to be inspired by that, Tracey. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Catherine.